Okay. Um, okay. So this video is going to be a video um, in the branch of philosophy, but really anybody can take a look at this video and think about things in this video. Okay. And it's about this topic that I decided to ponder about, what is evil? It's a fundamental question of what can I consider evil, and the goal that we're kind of going towards is it would be nice, it would be nice if we could pick any action, whether it's stealing a car, thinking about killing someone, playing video games and killing people in video games, killing a chicken to eat it, any of these things, or even more. The proposition is, if we truly understand what evil means, then we should be able to have a checklist where we have this kind of test that we have developed, where instead of deciding, okay, as a judge, I want to have this rigid system in place where I can just throw anything at it and I'm going to come out of it, oh, that's evil, that's evil. Whether this will actually happen, or whether we actually find this, is of course a question in of itself, whether it's possible. But I think keeping this kind of framework in mind as you go forward and kind of analyze this type of stuff is very useful and helpful to help you find answers to certain things, to kind of keep a mental framework of, well, what is the purpose? The purpose is kind of be able to analyze and say what is evil and what is not. Okay, so first I would like to express, a very interesting topic to kind of dive into when we talk about evil, and that is the idea of thoughts versus actions, which I'm going to start off with by talking about intrusive thoughts. Okay, intrusive thoughts are those thoughts that they pop into your brain and you don't want them to be there, right? They kind of intrude. They're like intruders in your brain. You get them, but you're not trying to think about those things. It's not a train of thought. It's kind of like, every single time it's like if you go out in public and you see a girl and you see her shirtless, like this, your mind just imagines what's beneath her shirt, and you didn't want to see that. You swear that you're not, that type of person, but you just because you watched videos or whatever, when you go out and you see a girl, you see her shirtless. That's kind of, so the question, we're not trying to analyze good and evil yet. We're kind of trying to analyze, the question of, is it a thought? Does that count? Or is it only an action that counts? Right? So if I see this girl and I imagine that she's naked, and I don't mean to do it, or if I do mean to do it, okay, let's make things more black and white, right? So we can, instead of focusing on doing the entire proof, focus on a smaller amount of it. So a girl is outside, okay, you're on the bus, and you turn around um, and you see her cleavage, and then you imagine her entire breast naked in your imagination. And this is an intrusive thought. You're not talking about it with someone, and then you go more into something, and then you kind of, move towards, like, oh, do I want apples? Yes, I want apples for dinner. I'm gonna make an apple pie. Blah blah blah. That's logical thought. Right? Intrusive thought is you're not trying to make it. So first, let's analyze evil by thinking about, do intrusive thoughts count as evil? Right? If I make an intrusive thought, it's not even mean for it to happen. It's not from me. But it is, but it's like, it's not technically from what I want. So, is it evil or not? It's kind of like all of a sudden we're just branching out because we have all these things that we have to think about. So, now we think about, so let's try to solve this problem, right? Philosophy is, you have a problem, you try to solve it. A lot of the time, it's just like anything. So, okay, let's see. Alright, we have a problem now. Simpler. We're simplifying the problem in 2 steps. If I know I have intrusive thoughts, and is that evil? Now, we have to know what evil is, right? We can't put something inside a bag and say this is an apple if we don't know what an apple is. So let's give a definition of evil. So before we solve that question, we have to solve the definition of evil. Not necessarily to put A in the evil and B in evil and C in evil and E in evil. Not necessarily being able to have that type of division and, that type of precision in how you divide things. Or more, boom, I have, the abstract idea of evil. So, we can look at evil in several ways. A lot of people say evil is the absence of light. Darkness is the absence of light, and give a metaphor for the darkness as evil. So in this idea, it's evil is when you know what's right and everything else is evil. That's the definition. The definition is light is good, darkness is evil. Alright, and this is where I come across another question. Is it possible to have partial evils, right? Is it possible to have something more evil than something else? Can you rate it? Is it, I think the word for it is cardinal. I'm not sure it's ordinal. I should be ordinal. It's can you rate it? And I'm not saying, how much more evil, because you can make it out of 100, but I feel like it's just like, what's that word in economics? Anyways, this word in economics, which basically means, how happy you are. But basically, what I'm saying is, you have a way of or do you have a way of kind of, comparing? But let's give a definition of evil. If we think about there being good and evil as 2 colors, okay? And this is in old times, what they do is they use geometric shapes. Okay? So they put it on different sides because it doesn't make sense if I just, say they're opposite. Because, I mean, the simplest is light and dark, light and white and black. In the middle, they form gray. But if you think about it really logically, there are no two colors that are complete opposites except the color itself and the absence of that color. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is the opposite of red isn't green. Some people think that the opposite of red, no. The opposite of red is when you have no more color. No more color red. Right? And that's the color of your canvas. Except with the red color, you don't have a canvas color. Does that make sense? Like if I shine red light at a wall, if it's white, it has to be white, but there's no canvas color. That's what I'm trying to say. When you shine, so let's say you have a flat surface, okay? Like even the color wheel it's I don't know how to say it. It's, the whole point is we have one is the color itself, and the other one is the absence completely of that color. So it would be one is the color red itself. That's a color that goes. It's a color that's like a substance, and then the opposite is the lack of the substance completely and lack of any other substance. So of course it's always going to be black. So black, actually, no, in terms of light, is black. In terms of light, is black. In terms of painting, is white. But it's not what I'm talking about light. Okay, light. The opposite of any color on the color wheel is black when we're talking about light. But of course, when we talk about white as being the most opposite to black, is because when you add white to any light, it makes it more white. Does that make sense? If I add brown, if I add orange to red, it becomes in the middle. If I add yellow to red, it becomes more orange. I add yellow to green, it becomes in the middle. It meets halfway. I add white to red, it becomes more white. Period. No going halfway. So this black and white are opposites in terms of lighting. That's why in Taoism they talk about good and evil in terms of a circle, and there's black and white. This is the fundamental idea. And that's the idea that we're going to use to formulate our concept of evil. So evil, according to our conceptions, is basically good is that white light. As long as there's a light present, as long as there's a white light present, it's good. If it lacks the white light, it becomes more and more evil. Alright, so basically, this makes things seemingly easier. Although I'm walking out of my comfort zone, it seems as though we can have the white light. It's something that there's one correct decision, there's one good, and everything else is evil. Okay. The definition of evil, therefore, is the decision. Okay? The decision. Because if I hit this is where I'm going to go through some case analysis in the end, but I'm going to throw one in right now. If I'm a driver and I decided to drive drunk because I drunk j'ai I consumed I drank uh, soju or beer. I drank beer, 4 bottles, um, and I didn't. In my brain, there was nothing. Don't drive. You're drunk. Nothing. So I go drive, and I hit a little girl, and she dies. Okay, is that evil? This is where we have this idea of decision. Because if, let's say you are sick with, so, okay, let me give you an example. Do you seriously, when you watch zombie movies and the zombies, they're going around and they're, biting people or whatever, do you consider the zombies evil? Like, I feel like whenever I watch zombie movies, which is very not often, but I do watch them, I feel like the zombies, like, bro, they're just dead. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we feel like this is how like our minds process evil is something that we decide, right? If you don't decide it, and we just, I didn't, like if you're working in a restaurant and you're trying to cook stuff and you're trying to cut stuff, and then when you turn around, this person comes up behind you, you stab them. Like, so much of the uh, system of courts, they have a bad way of analyzing stuff like this because the families, they want, retribution. They want, people want retribution, like you killed him. But really, philosophically speaking, when we talk about, this idea of evil. Okay, when we talk about this idea of evil, evil really is very um, evil really is very complex, right? So definitely there needs to be a decision. So we're gonna form the definition starting out with the keywords. Number one, there is one good and infinite evil. The light is good, absence of light, evil. Right? Because we're not talking about a room where the light can reflect everywhere. No. We're talking about a room where the light gets completely absorbed. No, that's not a good idea, but like when it goes on a surface, it doesn't reflect. That's just the idea that we have right now. If you encounter problems with this type of model coming from chemistry, as in, um, the particle model and stuff like that, we have these philosophical models in which if the model is not accurate, there's going to be changes. So there's our idea of evil. So it's the decision-wise. Okay, in your mind, there's a way to make a decision. And if you make a decision that results in a black color, if you make a decision and it's not right, yeah, that's evil. So even when you play things like badminton and you make a wrong decision, that's evil. That decision is evil because there's a theoretical perfect world, where nothing evil happens. Every single move is 100% right. And this is why everybody commits evil in this world. There's that guy, the king, that I don't want to bring into this conversation because I'm not going to talk. But it's virtually impossible to go through life and not do something evil. So this is what we talk about when we talk about evil. When we talk about so the next thing talk about really is, so now we have a definition of evil. Evil is when you make a decision which causes evil is when you make a decision which is not the perfect one. It's not the perfect one. And now we need to bring in another thing, which is um, virtue, because we have to think about, okay, what is the perfect? So if every single move that is not the best, the perfect one is evil, and that means that everything in this world right now is evil right now. What is virtue? Right? So you have to think about what is the perfect? Who sees that stuff? Because someone you're gonna have just like boom. Okay, I see that. I see that. I see that. I see that thing. I see that thing. But who sees what? Should we listen to God? Should we listen to Jesus? Who should we listen to? Right? And become confusing. Who to listen to? Of course, um, we listen to the virtuous, and we don't know what God thinks, right? Because a definition, we're not talking a philosophy, this applied philosophy, this theoretical philosophy. We're not trying to, some people don't want to do theoretical, so they go, oh, okay, God, God see it. But of course, we want people see it, right? Just human, the virtuous ones, right? The people who go through life and they go through many challenges, and then they actually act virtuously. Those are our judges, right? So right, it's very some people, some judges on the court, they think that they're qualified, but actually they're not qualified because they're not virtuous enough. Next, okay, so we figured out a couple of things. First, we figured out evil. What is that? And we figured out, okay, what is the perfect move? Okay. So, but then we bring this question about like the perfect move. Like, so, okay, let's think back onto another the question we had before, which is intrusive thoughts and evil. So now we can analyze it, right? The path has been clear, so we can go, okay, intrusive thoughts. Do I have them on purpose? Do what is the deal here with thoughts? Like, do I need to act on? Do I have to like? So let's say you're, I'm a, let's say I'm a killer or whatever. I'm not. And this other woman, this other man has a gun. So one day I get super pissed. In my imagination, I imagine beating some guy to death in the street, but I don't actually do it. Right? Sometimes it's just angry and I'm gonna beat the fuck out of this. So, and you don't actually do it though. You don't snap. You don't do it. This other guy, he's also very angry, and he beats some guy up. He like snaps and he starts beating the guy up into the street and kicking him and punching him. He gets charged with what's that? I don't know. If he gets charged with stupid. Okay, so but whatever it is, whatever the word for it is, but he is charged. I don't. But let's not think about charging. Charging is very, Plinko style. It's under a very, so I talk about, okay, right? Like you go, well, he beat him up, but I imagined it. But really, in this universe that we're in, I could be a brain in a vat. If you watch The Matrix, which I haven't, but heard about it, I could be just a brain and everything is feeding me. So essentially, me beating people up on GTO or Grand Theft Auto and stealing the cars, that's the exact same thing as me stealing cars in real life and beating people up in real life. Except I just don't. And same with virtual reality. Like, if in virtual reality, I'm killing a guy and, like, how is that, better? Like, knowing that no one dies, yes, that's true. So it is fundamentally different. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just having that thought process. So you go, well, what is it? What defines evil? Because why do the actions only matter? Why should I care about if my brain tells me, oh, go punch him, or go beat him up, or go take away his life? Right? Why should none of my thoughts matter? Because a lot of people, the way that they, a lot of people, the way they deal with this type of problem is they say, oh, okay, actions are what matter. So this is something that's very important. Should I care about my thoughts? And the thing is, the key about evil is about the decision. Does that make sense? It's the decision. That's the key. Okay? When you are given the choice and you choose wrong, whenever, if you believe in God, God. If you don't believe in God, the actions of the world, whenever they give you a choice and you choose wrong, that's evil. There is a right choice every single time. You'll be surprised at how much little ability to make decisions we actually have. It's a huge role-playing game, and we make our own decisions. But most of us make our own decisions very, very infrequently. That's why evil is very hard to understand. Of course, if you kill 5 people, like, you're not good. But at the same time, who cares about the court, right? Because the court doesn't matter. What matters is if you die. or if you get stuck here, what does your friends say or your family say? What does those people say who they know you and now you've done this? Or who does the world say? What does God say? You know, it's not about the court. You can go to prison for 60 years. Prisons, if you live in the Philippines, you have to go to bed. But a lot of prisons, you get visiting hours, you get. So, but of course, you know, I want to talk about, you know, right now is thinking things. Again, this is why I would logically and of course simply and obviously, not because of what I get, although I'm a woman, I do get intrusive thoughts, but because just generally, it's like, you know, intrusive thoughts are like, if you have like this, let's say you have it's basically like, okay, let me see a good example. Okay, it's like your arm, okay, your arm is twitches a lot because he has some type of genetic condition. And then when he twitches in the bus, people are like, no, you gotta get off the bus because you can't twitch on the, you know. So it's very like, you're not evil for your, if you, I'm not saying your intrusive thoughts as in, you know, but like when you don't have the decision, right? We have inside of us the ability to make decisions. It's always going to be like, I do this. But what I'm trying to say is there ever going to be an intrusive thought that when you made that thought, it was a decision? No, because it popped into your head. You can't make things pop into your head decisively. That's why every single evil action starts off with possibly intrusive thoughts that are already there, but they start off with thoughts in your mind that you're already dealing with and, you know, analyzing. There's already thoughts in your mind that you're already dealing with and thinking about, and then you make that decision in your mind. Does that make sense? When you make that decision, then that is a possible good or evil transaction. That is when you are able to choose between good and evil. Otherwise, it's just an intrusive thought. It might add to a further good and evil decision in the future, but in the meantime, as an intrusive thought, it comes, and if it disappears, it means nothing. So if you are having an intrusive thought, and I'm not doing this to reassure you I don't care about that stuff, I'm doing this because I'm being honest. If you don't, I mean, think about it, alright? So if you are having an intrusive thought, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about this girl just walked on the bus, and I'm thinking about, fuck, I look at her butt, and I'm imagining her without a pants. it's not, and you just that comes in and pops out. So it's not, but if you think about that stuff and you go up and you grab her, like that's not appropriate because you you made a decision. Okay? You made a decision. So that's that. So I believe we have kind of pretty good understanding of evil for now, which is has to do with I mean it's very simple. It's first of all it has to do with the light and the darkness. Good is the light. Darkness or the absence of light is evil. Meaning light has one source, darkness is just everywhere. So you have one good decision, the rest is evil. It speaks volumes about, how this, and this is very, so some people even don't even think about, okay, especially I want to talk about now, so I talk about that, now I want to talk about another area which is also very important, and this area is in connection with religion, specifically sin. Now, I'm going to put a little disclaimer here. I'm not a Christian. And I do apologize if I make any mistakes. But it's just me from my philosophical perspective. So, um, for sin, it's like, I would say the most important thing that people don't seem to kind of realize. It's a small secret, but a lot of people see sin as um, these. It's almost like sin is kind of labeled in a dictionary. Right? So it's kind of like, oh, sin number 57 is masturbating. Sin number 23 is not giving your seat to a lady in the bus. Sin number 102 is not listening to your pastor. Sin number 105 is playing video games on your smartphone in the church. It's like we have all these sins labeled, and it's a dictionary. But what I would like to say is sin has nothing to do with a dictionary. You could be the person who watches porn or something for 5 years, 10 years, and you're not sinning. How does that make sense? Because um, well, it's not you're not sinning, but like that's not what I mean. Okay, what I mean is when it comes to things like that, and if you are Christian, you have to let God tell you. That's all. You have to let God. A lot of people like I think I heard of one person who like went to jail, um, part of the gang or whatever, and he like I don't know him personally. He's someone I heard of, and he's like a pastor now. And people are like, okay, how? When people were asking, it's like, oh shit, how come he have a good life now? Like, didn't he be in a gang and he went to jail? I didn't even go to jail and go. For me, it's like the worth of someone isn't just in what they did wrong. right? How much your worth is. I would say everybody's worth the same at birth, maybe. But as you grow older, your experiences change how much you're worth. Because you make decisions, and those decisions affect whether you're a sinner or you're a saint. And the more you sin, the less your worth is, because if you're sinning, fundamentally, sinning comes from selfishness. Sinning comes from hurting people and caring only about yourself. The only thing that can fix sin is to be selfless. If you have tons of sin, the first thing you need to do to fix it is just to be selfless. That's how I fix myself up, is because I had a lot of sins. I had a lot of sins. Like, I did a lot of bad stuff, but how I fixed myself up was I was very selfless. I'm doing a lot of selfless stuff right now. I'm helping people. I'm doing stuff for free. I'm like making videos. I'm doing everything for free. That's how you fix yourself up. Okay? But don't like don't don't like you know judge people just because they're sinners. You're like, oh, that guy's drinking beer. Oh, that guy's smoking weed. Oh, that guy's doing crack. Oh, that guy's doing cocaine. He's smoking. He's smoking. He's smoking. He beats his. That's bad. But just let God be the judge, right? Not you. You don't know them, and you aren't them. And most of the time, all you can do is give them a chance, you know? Because I sinned a lot. I did a lot of bad things. But now I turn things around. I'm being selfless. When you try to be selfless, yeah, so selfless. That's the only way. Right? So I don't like when people are like, oh my God, that's so in I'm not gonna insult the Islam. I'm not gonna insult Muslims, where it's like, oh, this is haram, masturbation is haram. This is, I don't like that, because it's too much of a B C D E F G label sin, label haram. I don't even know the word properly, but it's like 900 haram or however many halams there, and this worse stuff. So I feel like it's more. Every case is different. You go here. If you walk through the forest and you take one path to the end, and you encounter not to the end, you take one path and you encounter a certain maple tree. Someone else walks on another path and encounters the same maple tree through a different path. Those two are different, right? And that's why they talk about um, in the Quran, they talk about Master of Judgment. Allah is the most compassionate and the most merciful. So he's the Master of the Judgment. He's the one who judges, not you. Because what I would say is just when you if don't judge, and if you do judge, like judge when you judge someone, right? You should put on the lens of a kid. All right, that's what I like to believe. I like to believe that when you judge someone, put on the lens of a kid. The lens, the heart, and the eyes that you had when you were a kid. That's what you should put on when you judge someone. I've seen a lot of people. I've seen a disabled guy in the bus, and he was just like, he was you know, just being, everybody's looking at him, he was being nice. And, you know, I seen, so put on the lens of a kid to judge someone. That's what it means. If you truly want to judge someone, you want to judge them properly and accurately, you have to put on the lens of a kid and you judge them. You put on the lens of a kid and judge them. That way you're going to have an accurate judgment. Alright, so I think we talked about a bunch of stuff about good and evil and stuff like that, so I'm going to end this roughly talk right now. Bye.